This is an RNZ podcast.
Hello there, kia ora, and welcome back to the Music 101 interview podcast. I'm Charlotte Ryan. Now this week we're going back to 2023 to an interview that I did with Rickie Lee Jones, the legend, the icon. Of course, when I think of her, I think Chucky's in Love. But when she released her 15th studio album, Pieces of Treasure, I had the opportunity to interview her, and of course I jumped at the chance. I've always thought she was a legend. I love her style, and I love her smile. And this new album, Pieces of Treasure, it's an album of cover songs that hold sort of, personal significance or memories for her. So I couldn't wait to talk to her about these songs like Nature Boy and things, where she first heard them. But the other thing I think about when I think of Rickie Lee Jones is that iconic dance track by The Orb, Little Fluffy Clouds, where it has a female's voice talking in the background. I'd heard that it was Rickie Lee Jones, and I wanted to ask her about this. And I'm so pleased I did. Her answer was so surprising. And to be honest, her answer was shocking. She was so honest with me. And she was so honest about her ADHD too. I hope you enjoy this chat with Rickie Lee Jones, and I hope it encourages you to go and listen to her music. Here she is. I was speaking to her from her home in New Orleans. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I feel very connected to you at the moment because I've been in your album over the last week. It's such a beautiful, comforting album for me at the moment, so thank you.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
Do you get nervous before albums come out?
No, only kind of sad. Before they come out, they're yours and your imaginary world. And then once you let them go, like kids, they go off into the world. They have their own journey outside of your imagination. But, this is a kind of different record, and people are excited about it already. What you said is very personal, so
yeah,
thank you.
All your albums that you release are obviously incredibly important, but I feel like this one has a lot of sentiment in the sense that, the title is a callback to your album Pirates and working with one of the first producers you recorded with back in the early 80s.
Sometime in the recording of it, it seemed to me that connections that were left severed or undone so long ago were being reconnected and filled in a deep way, not just between Russ and I, but the feeling of this record feels like it's connecting us back to 1983 or 4. And I don't know if what is it? Is it the quality of it? Is it Russ and I being together? I don't know, but I felt like this is where we left off.
Do you feel like quite a different person now?
Then?
Yeah.
Then 80, well, I'm 50 years older. Am I 50 years old? No, 45 years older, but just about in every way. I'm funnier, I'm smarter, I'm prettier. And I'm a lot calmer about life. So I'm on this side of the mountain, not this side where all life is coming and what will happen. I'm on the other side where, wow, what a great story. So I feel pretty good.
Well, that was the thing. When you first worked with him, you were going through this like massive rise in fame, and back then you were using drugs and stuff. I wondered if it was almost triggering or anything working back with him, and you were like, oh my gosh, I was such a different person back then, or whether you had any revelations.
The revelation about the record came in the making of it. And how would I describe that? It just sounds a little hokey, but it was like there was somebody waiting for me in the studio. It wasn't a lifetime of making records. It was a brand new person stepping up to sing the songs. Somebody described it as a little kid putting on their parents' old clothes. But there's something youthful and extremely grown up about this persona and the voice that's singing the songs. I feel like I like to talk about her instead of me, but I feel like she's sultry, whatever her age is, and she's not taking it on the chin. It's not very serious for her. she's seen a lifetime of heartache and she came up smiling. That's what it sounds like to me.
You mentioned something about, wearing your parents' clothes. And I read somewhere that Nature Boy, the Eden Arbez track that you sing, was that a song that your father used to play to you or reminded you of your father?
Yeah. My father taught me a couple of the songs on the record, and Nature Boy was one. September Song was another. And the connection to them come from my dad. When we went to record it, though, it's a very short song, an odd 1-minute song. I have a message, and it's love and be loved in return. But because it begins, there was a strange, enchanted boy who traveled very far over land and sea. We decided to start the song at the beginning of his journey in some faraway place. So I think it's different for that, for the beautiful oud that plays at the beginning of it. Russ and I exchanged lists of songs. This was on my list. So we recorded it last 2 times, maybe, most of them 2 times.
Did you say that when you were in the studio, you recorded each song just twice?
Pretty much. We knew we got it. So if you got it, you don't doubt yourself. You might go like this. I think we got it. Yeah, I think we got it. You want to do it again just for fun? Okay. And then we would be done. And that's why in some cases, many days, we got 3 songs in one day. I don't know if you record, but that's pretty impressive even for a jazz record. So we were pretty happy with ourselves at the end of the week.
Yeah, when I saw that you recorded the album in 5 days, I was blown away. I mean, because back in the early 80s when you started recording albums, how long did you spend then?
Well, Flying Cowboys was 9 months. The first record, because of the discipline of the producers, we recorded the tracks in 2 weeks. When I made the second record, because of the success of the first, I had more time and authority to mess around. And the producers went with me on my journey. But, I'm not really a producer. I'm not good. I'm creative, but I'm not good at the discipline it takes to say, we'll do this then, and then we're done with it, and we move on to the next thing. So that one took, we worked on that for about 1.5 years. So that was probably, 5 or 6 months as well. So it was wonderful to work this way.
Yes. Do you enjoy studio time?
Well, sometimes, yes. Sometimes it's torturous. I was thinking of Flying Cowboys, and, we were trying so hard to catch something because of the way Walter worked, which was extremely detailed and disciplined, and my, kind of attention deficit disorder. It's very hard for me to sit and do things over and over or last a long time. I just want to do it and get out. So that was very hard for me. But every one of them is a picture of who you are at that time. So who I am at this time is a person who has, as much as I can, a happy and joyful time. And while it is about what you leave behind, at this point in life, it's really about living every day that you can, as much as you can. So my time in the studio was very happy, with very few, like the worst times we just fell asleep. Whereas, maybe in 1982, we were arguing about the drum or whatever. So we just don't argue anymore.
I didn't realize you had ADD, or attention deficit disorder. Was that a later realization, or
I've never mentioned it, but I have a terrible time concentrating and staying with anything. So like the first record, I just lay down on the ground and go to sleep. It was just impossible for me to stay with it. I think it's gotten worse as I've gotten older, but I've realized that, when I was a kid in school, the teachers would write notes. They'd say, Rickie sits and stares out the window all day long. Because I can't concentrate on what you're saying. Yeah. So I just drift away to my own imaginary world, and that has served me well. Had I not had that, I would have listened to what they said at school and not developed my wonderful imaginary world. But it is a very real thing, and I actually try to play online games and things to help me learn how to plan and follow through.
Focus.
Do
Yeah.
that. Focus, yeah, focus.
I interviewed Jessica Hopper recently, and she just made this awesome documentary called Women Who Rock.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to see it, so I haven't seen it. You like it? It was good.
I loved it, but I want you to see it because so many female musicians in there speak about you and speak about how inspiring you and your music and your style and you know everything about you was so important to them. And I wondered if you knew that. Did you know how much influence you've had on other female musicians?
That's a really deep question. In the 80s, because I was such a unique person and there weren't very many like me yet, as each new one came, I would have said, "Oh, she listened to me." But as decades went by, I went, maybe not." So to be honest, right now I do know.
Good.
2 years ago, I didn't. Right now, I think I can accept that, people honor me by saying this work that I do and who I am comes from the work that you did. I can accept that. That's hard for me to take. What would that be? It's more than a compliment, but it's been difficult for me to take it in. But I believe it, and I think I know it, kind of.
Yeah, it must be funny listening to modern music and hearing such familiar bits and wondering whether they got inspiration. Or I don't know if you've just seen, but Ed Sheeran's just gone into court to fight Marvin Gaye's family or estate is suing him. It makes me think about, classic rock and music and how much that does influence modern music.
Who are they suing again?
Ed Sheeran.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he do? Did he?
He used basically the same bass line in the song.
Oh, yeah.
It's so familiar. But you sort of debate and go, well, is that just the mathematical way to make a good song and he's done it? Or is that copying? Or, it's a tricky thing.
Yeah. Are you talking about, I used to go out to parties? Is that one and stand around? Because that would be the moment you hear that, you know that song. There are other bays like bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. You can't steal that, even though I think of Chaka Khan, somebody else might think of something else. So there are bluesy things that it's just not where you're going to say where it came from, even though somebody popularized it. But in the case of Marvin Gaye, that music was unique.
Yeah.
And but we live in a time where so many people sample and build a song from a thing. So it's the question whether or not it was famous or whether it was unique or whether you've got them. Because if you're going to allow anybody to do it, you got to let everybody do it. And I'd be interested to see if the precedent is that somebody thinks it's unique. A lot of that music that's sampled is unique. It's a conversation, and sometimes somebody creates something wonderful and new, and they throw a little money to the old writer. Isn't that great? Other times they go, well, I'm not including you for this reason and that. So I know Ed is famous, but I don't know his work. He could afford to have shared that. He was probably thinking it's just the bass line, it's not the song.
Yeah.
But if the bass line is that important in the song, that the moment we hear it, we think of that song. And that's why he took it, because he wants you to think of that song.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing, because I'm not sure that it's wrong, but I think legally it's wrong. So what are you going to do?
But I remember, and I've always loved it, that song that features your vocals, the Orb song, Little Fluffy Clouds. Did some lawsuit or something happen with that?
There was no lawsuit. When they did it, I was very broke at the time. So the money it cost just to write the letter was all I could do. I wrote a letter saying, you guys have no permission to use my voice. They wrote back the most insulting letter. It was like, not only did we take it, but you're lucky we did, because a whole bunch of people are going to hear it that never heard it before. Okay, but in the subsequent years, these guys have been, I've read it in print, so glib and insulting toward the people who didn't sue them. I think, right, the guy who makes the kind of loopy things, he stopped them, but so they were bastards, and they took my thing and made a whole bunch of other versions. They've never sent anything, and I know they made lots and lots of money.
I think they did. That song was epic. I mean, it's like a era of the late 90s or something. It's, one of the big songs. I cannot believe they didn't even check with you.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. It was from an interview I did. And, it's a kind of way of being where, maybe you don't do it at the time, but life goes by and good things happen and you think, I owe, and I'm going to take care of the people that helped me on the way that I didn't take care of. And if you don't do it, I mean, that guy moved to Arizona, his whole life was changed by that little recitation. So come on, man, do the right thing. If you've got $100,000 more than you need, send it to me, because you owe me a lot more and I don't have any money.
Rickie Lee, are you living in New Orleans still?
I am. I live by the railroad tracks, and the big ship goes by and goes woo woo, and the little ferry goes by. It's a wonderful place of sometimes too much noise, but I'm really, really happy here. And there's a lot of people way poorer than I am, and they're all singing and parading all day long. So they teach me how to be happy.
So many people listening now love you and will be horrified to think that you don't have money. Will you come and tour? How can we support you? We love your music.
Oh, thank you. Yes. What could we do? I have to think of some way to get paid for all those things. But when I close the computer and I'll have a happy night, that's the most you can hope for. And if I get to come there, come and see me play. That's good.
Yes, we will.
This record.
Yeah, I was about to say that. And yeah, totally. And we'll all buy pieces of Treasure on vinyl, and any merchandise, any T-shirts we'll buy too.
And the cover is quite remarkable. It looks fantastic.
I love it. It's you, isn't it?
It is. It's the very first photo session I ever did, even though the woman who took it said she didn't take it. so I just kind of found this picture out of nowhere, but I know it's from the first time I had my picture taken, and I was kind of playing the character of Easy Money. I also picked it because it's kind of iconic, and even though it doesn't represent an elegant or subdued thing, it represents me. I am her as much as I am the voice on the record. It just 45 years ago.
Rickie Lee Jones, thank you so much for your time.
I love talking to you over there. Aren't we lucky we can talk to each other around the world?
Oh, I feel very blessed, yeah.
Thank you.
I was speaking with Rickie Lee Jones. I loved her honesty, and I remember after the interview I just went and listened to her music so much because I wanted to support her. I cannot believe that it sounds like she doesn't have a lot of money. And why didn't she get that money from Orb? Anyway, so go and listen to Pieces of Treasure, her latest album, an album of covers, but so beautiful, and her voice is still so brilliant. If you know any Rickie Lee Jones fans, make sure you send them the link so they can hear this interview too. And if you love music, make sure you follow the Music 101 interview podcasts too.